There was a woman in her late 60s who kept telling herself the same thing. I'm fine. No matter what happened, no matter how she felt. She didn't complain, didn't express much. She stayed calm, controlled, and on the outside, everything looked stable. But inside, something was building, not all at once, slowly, quietly, until one day, she felt exhausted, not physically, but deeply, mentally tired. And that's when she realized something unsettling. It wasn't stress that drained her. It was everything. She never allowed herself to feel. Part 1. Many people misunderstand emotions, especially older adults who grew up believing strength meant staying composed, staying quiet, handling everything privately. And after decades working with older adults, I've seen how common this becomes. People learn to say, I'm okay, even when they are not. Not because they are dishonest, because emotional control becomes habit. But emotions are not simply reactions. They are signals, information from the mind and body. And when emotions are ignored repeatedly, they do not disappear. They remain active beneath the surface, quietly consuming mental energy. The woman had spent years appearing calm, reliable, steady. Her family admired this about her. Friends described her as strong. And in many ways, she was. But strength and suppression are not always the same thing. One afternoon, she sat quietly at the kitchen table after speaking with her son on the phone. The conversation had upset her slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to leave tension behind. But immediately after hanging up, she dismissed the feeling. It's nothing. I'm fine. Then she continued her day normally. But later that evening, the emotional weight was still there. Not obvious, just present. A heaviness she could not explain. That night, she sat alone in her bedroom, the room dimly lit, darkness slowly filling the corners of the house. She leaned back against her pillow, thinking, reflecting, trying to understand why she felt mentally exhausted lately, even on calm days, even on days without stress. And slowly, she noticed something important. She rarely allowed herself to fully experience emotion. Frustration, sadness, loneliness, disappointment. Even small emotional reactions were quickly pushed away. And this pattern matters more than many people realize. Because emotional suppression requires effort, continuous internal effort. The brain stays occupied maintaining control, holding feelings down, avoiding expression, and over time, that effort becomes exhausting. Not dramatic exhaustion, subtle exhaustion, the kind that feels like mental heaviness, reduced energy, reduced enthusiasm, a sense that something feels off even when life appears stable on the outside. The next morning, she opened the curtains beside her bed. Bright sunlight entered the room gently. The morning air quiet and still. And standing there, she realized something surprising. Her tiredness was not only physical. Part of it came from carrying emotions she never allowed herself to process. The woman who always said, I'm fine, began observing herself more carefully. Not her schedule, not her responsibilities, her emotional reactions. At first, the pattern was difficult to notice because suppression had become automatic. Someone disappointed her. She minimized it. Something hurt her feelings. She dismissed it immediately. A stressful moment appeared. She moved past it quickly without reflection. Everything was pushed aside before it could fully surface. One afternoon, while washing dishes near the kitchen sink, She suddenly felt irritation rising after remembering an uncomfortable conversation. Normally, she would distract herself immediately, turn on the television, start cleaning, find something else to focus on. But this time, she paused, just paused. She allowed herself to notice the feeling without resisting it, not analyzing it, not judging it, simply noticing. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost unnatural. Her mind wanted to escape the feeling immediately. But after several quiet moments, something unexpected happened. The emotion softened on its own. Not dramatically, but naturally, like tension slowly releasing from a muscle. That experience stayed with her. Later that evening, she sat quietly beside the bedroom window. Night settling softly outside, thinking, reflecting, realizing how much energy she had spent trying to remain emotionally controlled all the time. And emotional suppression affects more than mood. Research continues showing connections between chronic emotional stress and sleep quality, fatigue, focus, and even physical tension in the body. The nervous system responds to unresolved emotion. Even when people pretend they are unaffected. That night, she noticed something different while preparing for sleep. Many people spend years carrying emotions they never process fully, especially emotions that feel uncomfortable. Grief, disappointment, loneliness, regret, even small frustrations. Instead of moving through naturally, these feelings remain unresolved in the background, and over time, the nervous system stays tense because of it. The woman began noticing this clearly. Some days, nothing stressful happened at all. Yet she still felt mentally tired by evening, as though her mind had been working all day, because internally it had. Holding emotion in place requires continuous effort, and this hidden effort often appears physically too. Tension in the shoulders, tight breathing, restlessness at night, difficulty relaxing fully. One evening, she lay awake after midnight, turning over slowly beneath the blanket, the bedroom dark and silent around her, thinking about old memories she rarely allowed herself to revisit. Moments of sadness, moments of disappointment, things she had buried beneath years of staying strong. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel them honestly, not dramatically, quietly, naturally. And afterward, something inside her felt lighter. This is important to understand. Emotions are designed to move, to rise, be experienced, then gradually settle. But suppression interrupts that process. The emotion stays unfinished, unresolved. And unresolved emotional tension slowly drains mental energy over time. Many people mistake this heaviness for aging itself. But emotional load plays a significant role in energy levels and emotional well-being. The mind becomes less responsive when it constantly carries unprocessed tension. And slowly, life feels heavier than it truly is. Processing emotions does not require dramatic expression. It begins with awareness. Simple awareness. The woman started creating small, quiet moments throughout her day. Moments to check in with herself emotionally. How am I actually feeling right now? Not the automatic answer. The honest one. Sometimes the feeling was frustration, sometimes sadness, sometimes loneliness she had ignored for years. But instead of immediately pushing those feelings away, she acknowledged them gently. And this changed something important. Resistance decreased. The emotions passed more naturally. She also began taking slow morning walks through the neighborhood, sunlight warming the sidewalks, fresh air, helping her breathe more deeply. Walking created space for reflection, space for thoughts and feelings to move naturally. And movement matters emotionally too. Physical activity helps regulate stress responses in the nervous system. Even gentle walking can reduce emotional tension and improve mood. Some mornings, she simply sat quietly beside the window with a cup of tea. No television, no distractions, just stillness, thinking, reflecting, allowing herself to notice what was happening internally. At first, silence felt uncomfortable because distraction had become habitual, but gradually, quiet became calming instead. A place where emotions no longer needed to be avoided, and consistency mattered. Because emotional habits are built through repetition. Each time she acknowledged a feeling instead of suppressing it, the pattern changed slightly. And over time, her emotional state became lighter, more balanced, more responsive. Not because difficult feelings disappeared, because she stopped fighting their existence. Being fine is not always peace. Sometimes it is protection, a habit developed over many years, a way of avoiding discomfort. But what this story reveals is something deeply important. Emotions themselves are rarely the true burden. The burden often comes from resisting them, holding them down, pretending they are not there, because what is unexpressed is still experienced internally. And over time, that hidden tension accumulates, quietly draining energy, clarity, emotional responsiveness. The woman eventually realized something that changed the way she viewed herself. She was not emotionally weak for feeling things deeply. She was human, and allowing emotion did not make her unstable. It made her lighter, more honest, more emotionally free. One evening, she sat quietly in her bedroom before sleep. The night outside, completely dark. Soft silence filling the room. And instead of pushing away her thoughts, she simply allowed them to exist, without resistance, without judgment. And for the first time in years, she felt calm in a way that did not require pretending. And after many years, caring for older adults, I believe this may be one of the most overlooked truths about emotional health and aging. The mind becomes exhausted, not only from stress, but from everything it continuously tries to hold inside. Because sometimes, the difference between feeling emotionally drained